Have you ever used an app that's like very well designed, very aesthetically pleasing? You go through it, you start noticing the little details, all the animations, maybe there's some motion, the typography, the colors, there's harmony in it. But as soon as you start using it, you might not find the thing that you're looking for. You might get errors and you're like touching through and it's like, what's going on with this thing? And I can't navigate, I can't use it. This is bad user experience. I thought UX was all about designing very pretty interfaces, colors, the harmony, the typography, fancy transitions. I thought it was all visual design, but I was completely wrong. And so I want to talk about this. Hey, welcome back. It's Enoch Madrid here with this exciting topic all about UX, UI, the difference between these two, the importance of UX, and the confusion I had before. As I was a fresh and unexperienced designer, I was primarily focused on making things look pretty, visually stunning interfaces. I believe that, my job was all about that as I transitioned from being a front-end developer into a UI and UX designer. So it was very interesting how I learned the importance of user experience. This was while I was working on this freelance project. Basically, it was a step-by-step account creation form. One of the requirements for this design was to ask users to verify their ID. Now, the reason why it asked for an ID verification was simply because users were buying and selling gold through a very secured bank transaction. So we had to make sure that you are who you say you are and you couldn't fake your information. So that's why ID verification was a requirement for this sign-up process. And so I worked on this redesign of this form. I'd make sure that the UI looked as good as possible. But I quickly found out that most users were not able to finish creating their account simply because they did not want to upload their ID. Some folks did not have it at the moment, so they had to pause. And so we also failed to communicate why they needed to go through this verification process. And this is where I completely missed the mark of delivering a good user experience. This feedback alone made me question my design approach. I learned my lesson and then I went back to the drawing board and I asked the business, why is it that we require users to verify their ID as soon as they're creating their accounts? And boy, this is where UX started for me. And so I began my quest to learn more about UX and how to incorporate it into my design process. I started reading books and attending workshops and talking to experienced UX designers. It became clear to me that a successful product is not just about the visuals, it's all about how easy and enjoyable it is to use. Let's fast forward 2 years later when I had my full-time job. And this is when I was the only UX designer in most teams, but I had this opportunity to work on this particular project where we assembled a brand new team. And this team consisted of a lot of people. We're talking about a UX director, a senior UX designer, a senior UI designer, an art director, a project manager, scrum master, product owner, and I believe it was like 7 web developers. And lastly, there was myself, another UI UX designer, which was overseeing the whole project. And as we were going through the project kickoff, I didn't really understand the full spectrum of the specialized roles that everybody played until we were actually starting to put out the deliverables. So the project manager, the UX director, and the senior UX designer, they would all get together and they would be asking the business questions. They established who the users were and what major problems we would solve with UX and how that aligned with the business goals. Part of the UX deliverables included internal research findings, understanding the user profiles, personas, member segmentations, those type of things. There was a moment when we put together a sitemap for pages and all the primary and sub navigations. We refer to this as creating the information architecture while also figuring out the nomenclature of our labels, the tone of voice, the language in which we're using for copywriting. All of this work work was led by the UX director and the senior UX designer. I remember also participating in a lot of the journey mapping sessions for different scenarios that we had to solve for. Eventually, those became user flows. And so the senior UX designer, he would use these flows to create the necessary wireframes with all the detailed annotations to the wireframes. And sometimes he would deliver these screen flows from the wireframes to communicate the project to the stakeholders. Hey, so I know that I've mentioned a lot, but trust me, I learned so much by being part of this major project. I actually realized that there's a lot of hard work that goes into the UX side of building a digital product. Like, I knew a lot of these things in theory, but I never actually saw them done in practice until I worked on this project. There was a period of time we waited for wireframes to be completed so that we could pass those along to the art director and the senior UI designer so that they could do their thing, you know, their visual design talent things, all the magic. It was at that point I realized that the UX designer is not the same as a UI designer. In fact, the senior UX designer was not great at designing interfaces at all. He would admit to the whole team that designing was his least favorite thing to do. His strengths and talents revolved around logic, understanding human psychology, behavior, computer screen interactions, and of course, simplifying communication. And on the other hand, we also had our highly skilled and excellent senior UI designer, Alex. This guy's work was an inspiration to me. It was phenomenal. If I were to describe his level of design, I would say Apple. His design work is clean, and he only focused on delivering high fidelity screen designs using the provided wireframes and turning them into these slick looking design mocks that included clean and proper typography, lots of good spacing and enticing imagery while ensuring that the brand essence came across in his UI designs. And just in case you're watching, Jason, Alex, and the rest of the Bounteous team, I want to give you guys all a shout out because I did learn so much from you all and the way that you guys all work together. All right, so moving on, as the project continued, we had some design deliverables, and then I questioned myself, what could I bring to the table? Which was me overseeing this whole project as a stakeholder. So I quickly discovered what parts of the design process I was really good at. And let me tell you, my strength lies in thinking of UIs in terms of scalable patterns, a design system approach. This is because I was the person who created Jupyter, our design system, over at Caesars, and combined with my knowledge in front-end development and CSS, I was always looking for the opportunity to scale these design patterns in terms of reusability. I would always ask the question, how does this product align with all the other digital products under the same brand? Can these patterns expand our established design system, or can we reuse these patterns that we already have? And this is what I bring to the table to any UI UX team. So with my newfound knowledge and experience, I started to have clarity between UX and UI, and I quickly discovered that not everyone can be a unicorn and do it all at once. The best work comes out when you have specialized individuals, each with their own and unique strength and skills, coming together as a team to create a product that not only looks great, but also provides a seamless user experience. And so, my fellow designers, the moral of this story is that by distinguishing UX more clearly from UI and incorporating both disciplines effectively in your projects, you're not only going to create products that are visually appealing, but also user-friendly and enjoyable to use. I really hope that my story and experiences inspire you to strike the right balance between UI UX in your design journey. I also hope that one day you also become part of a bigger team and specialize in an area that you are strongest in, where you feel more comfortable in, whether that is research, UX, or UI. Working in a big team for me made me see UX in a different perspective. It's a new perspective. And by the way, I'm just curious, where do you see yourself? What skills are you strong at? Are you strong at UX research? Are you a true UX designer? More of a UI designer, like the visual stuff? Would you consider yourself a design engineer, someone like myself who can identify patterns and think in terms of scalable design system and code? Or do you do it all, a true unicorn? I'd love to read your thoughts on this. Feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. All right, that's it for today. I hope that you found this topic very helpful. Please give it a thumbs up so that YouTube can recommend this video to other people and they can find value. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Enoch Madrid signing out. Peace.